All right, welcome back. This is the first Rapid Takes video, and I have Mike with me. Mike, how are you?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, this is something new that I decided to try for the channel. Basically, the Rapid Takes is just like a mini review, and this is a way for me to cover certain games that I don't want to make a full retrospective for, and I do need to get some gameplay videos off of my hard drive because they're taking up too much space. Basically, what's going to happen is Mike is going to ask me a series of questions about the game, and I will do my best to answer to try and give more of an idea, a quick run of what the game is and what it does well, what it doesn't do well, and then I'll give a final verdict, rating and what have you at the end, along with a final recommendation. So, Mike, you're free to ask me whatever.
All right, yeah. So to kick it off, let's start with the first question. So can you just give us a description of the game, the genre, developer, publisher, and pretty much the general concept of it?
Yeah, so Wo Long Fallen Dynasty is another Souls-like in the same vein as the Neo series. The developer is Team Ninja. The publisher is Koei Tecmo, and basically, you could basically just call this game Neo 3 without it actually being called Neo 3. If you played any of the Neo games, any of the Souls-like games, then this is going to be very familiar for anyone that's already experienced those titles.
Is it in the same world as Neo, just completely different?
It's completely different. It's not. It doesn't take place in the same universe.
Okay, gotcha. How long is the game exactly, and how much time did you put into it?
Well, it's been a while since I played this. I completed this game back in March, and I haven't really played it since. From what I remember, it took about 30 hours, around 30 hours to complete it. And obviously, they've added more content to it over time. But I don't know what the length of the DLC and all that shit is, and I haven't gone back through it for New Game Plus. But just for the initial run, I put like 30 hours into it.
Okay, yeah, so that's a decent amount of time. And what platform are you playing it on?
I played this on PC.
Okay, using any controller, or are you using just keyboard and mouse?
So I never use keyboard and mouse. I always stick with a controller. I used a DualSense, PlayStation 5 DualSense controller for this.
Okay, never go wrong with that. And so, breaking it down more with our fourth question, how much content is in the game?
So again, going back to the Neo games, it's pretty much the same. You have a long list of main missions, and then you have a list of side missions on top of that. It's quite a bit of content. It's not a short experience at all. The main missions can take anywhere from, usually they're around 40 minutes to an hour long. Obviously, it depends on skill level exactly how long it takes for any single person to go through the levels. But yeah, as far as the content, as far as the length goes, there's quite a bit of game in there. It's not a half-assed thing as far as the length goes.
Okay, is there any gameplay modes?
Well, there's not really, unless you're talking about like multiplayer. Yeah, there's a multiplayer component just like the Neo games in the form of co-op, and then there's also PvP. But this is primarily a single player game. So
Gotcha. And so, basically, how do you feel about the core gameplay and gameplay loop?
pretty much the same as I feel about the almost every other Souls-like game that's out there. It's a very repetitive game. You have these bonfire style checkpoints. I forget what they're even called in this game. They just gave them a different name, but it's the same fucking thing. And then you have these extended levels that have diverging paths, just like any other Souls-like. You have shortcuts that allow you to get through the level faster, but you have to unlock them first, just like every other Souls-like game that's out there. And yeah, it's pretty standard and straightforward as far as the level design goes. Combat wise, it's the exact same thing. You have a basically like a stagger system, and the more you attack in this game, the more that the bar or meter is filled. And once the meter is filled, you can basically stagger your enemies and then go for a quick kill. That's basically like that's what your goal is, for like not just the normal enemies but the bosses as well. And that's what you're trying to accomplish primarily throughout the game when it comes to the combat system. And then unlock as many checkpoints as you can, successfully get through the level without wasting too much time. There's also a loot system, just like in the Neo games. You can also equip, different gear pieces on your character. There's a character creation engine as well, which is fairly decent as far as the customization goes and the options that they give you. Yeah, it's not like a linear, straightforward thing. They give you plenty of options to customize your character, to look how you want them to look. And then, they also have like the blacksmith or whatever to strengthen your weapons, fortify your weapons. That's just like almost every other Souls-like game that's out there. So, I mean, it's
Right.
it's very it's very much the same. If you've played any other major Souls-like, be it the Dark Souls series or the Neo games or something of that nature, Code Vein, Lords of the Fallen, it falls in line with the rest of those. So as far as my opinion of it goes, I mean it's very stale. So
Okay, gotcha. Now, even though I know you say it feels kind of stale and it's kind of what you're already familiar with, is there anything that does stand out to you, or you consider a good strength of the game?
um I would say because this game is more action oriented compared to the Neo games. There's more of an emphasis on offense rather than defense, and the game encourages you to go on the offense more than those games. Basically, you could say like this is like Neo's answer to what Sekiro Shadows Die Twice was, and so you're encouraged to go on the offense. The speed of the combat it's a bit faster a game compared to the Neo games. Of course, there's like a double-edged sword with that, because it relies on this parry system, and if you can't get the timing down similar to Sekiro, then you're not going to have a good time with this. You're not even going to make it very far if you can't get down the timing of the parry system. Of course, I did because I'm pretty used to playing these types of games at this point. So, but yeah, it's still very very repetitive.
Yeah, so right where we left off, I was just asking, was there a main thing, or even a few things that would you say you would strongly dislike about this game, just to give a warning to people who are possibly thinking about giving it a purchase?
I would say if you're not a big fan of the Souls-like genre, you're not gonna, this game isn't gonna change your mind. It's nothing different. It's the same shit. Just it's presented differently. Yes, there's a greater emphasis on offensive gameplay, offensive combat, but the core of what the game is the exact same. If you played any of the Neo games, it's the same thing. So everything that was wrong with those games is the same thing that's wrong here. The combat system is very repetitive. Storytelling is just it's lackluster. It's very disconnected, and the game doesn't do a good job of explaining like what's actually happening, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
give you any reason to care about what's happening. Yeah, it's the same thing, and then the customization is just not as good as the Neo games either. Even though a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it's the same, they give you options, but the Neo games did a much better job, I think, in that arena when it comes to the customization in particular. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, the fact that it's the core of it, it's pretty much the same as those games. I would say that's its greatest weakness.
Okay, now I wanted to move on to performance. Now I know you got a solid gaming laptop, but did you have any performance issues you noticed at all while you were playing this?
No, It ran smoothly for the most part. I didn't use like an FPS tracker or whatever on screen as I was playing it, which, I don't really use that feature much anyway with Steam. But yeah, it ran smoothly for the most part. Maybe there were some frame rate dips here and there, but nothing egregious. I ran the game at high settings. These types of games aren't really graphically demanding, so yeah, yes, I have more than a decent enough setup for them. So
Gotcha. Now I know you're feeling pretty mad about this whole game. So is there anything you think the devs could have done better to improve it?
I would like to see a game that has this much content, but that isn't a Souls-like. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, if they just like got rid of some of the Souls-like elements and didn't make it as like fucking repetitive, but kept the bulk of the content the same and then like improve like the quality of the storytelling, I think they would have something special. But the fact that they keep regurgitating the same bullshit over and over and over again, and
Hmm.
nothing's really improving from game to game. They're just adding some new elements, or it's a new gimmick with the next game that they release. It's nothing that really demands anyone's time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So all in all, how you feeling about the rating? If you're giving it an F through A?
Um, I'd say it's a solid D.
Okay. Now, would you recommend this to anybody?
No, no, I wouldn't.
All right. Well, I think that's all my questions I have for you.
Yeah. So that's a Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. It's not some bullshit, but it's not that far from being some bullshit. So there you go.